Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it's Monday, the day's behind us, another new all-time high. This morning we came into the morning call, just put together some charts out there. I wanted to show you some of these upper-level bull flags that are intact, how we've had different support levels, support 1, 2, and 3, and every time that we've mapped out these 3 support levels, we've been holding support 1. So, the bulls have basically been in complete control for the majority of this V-bottom all the way from October 15th. As far as stocks are concerned and sectors, everyone's kind of taking their turns, and sometimes, you have to be in one spot for that day and then not go back to it, or sometimes you get a little follow through, and it's our job to figure out what you could stay with and what you might need to, trim and trail. I'm just going to get right down to it. You look at the chart of the spiders and you will see this morning, I think this is from what I drew, you had that V bottom down here. You had the move above the lower pivot. Then this gap and go was pretty much what, blew the shorts out. Gap and go above the 200-day, right there, that said, okay, no dead cat bounce here. I remember this small little red dog reversal where we made some money short, probably one of the few days you could have made money short, held the third, and then had to get out that next day. And this is probably where most of the people who started the roll-up game, are just short and miserable and bashing the market every time they can, get a chance. But anyway, from there, another gap that held. Then remember over here, you pushed into the gap below the pivot, came back above it. Then this morning we talked about, support 1, or this was actually even shallow support. This was your support 1 with the 8-day, and here we are again in the new highs. So spiders giving you every reason, to be long the market, and then you have to pick and choose where you want to focus. Qs we also went over. Yes, not a new high, it's not leading the tape right now, but still above this floor here. It's above the 8-day. Here's your gap and go from there, another one there. And, at some point, perhaps this extends and shows some leadership again. But for right now, if you're shorting the spiders because the Qs aren't highs, you're probably not doing well for yourself in that trade. But overall, still looks fine. Then we also talked about the IWM that, a lot of the bears are all bashing, and they've been doing that for a hell of a long time. But anyway, here is your red dog reversal right around 103.86. Quick move up, then it cleared this lower pivot, and since then it's been stair-stepping higher. It's above the 200-day. It's above all the moving averages. This morning we talked about how you had a bull flag consolidation pattern, and that if it starts to extend, it could actually lead to another move in the market. And today, it traded above the resistance, closed pretty well. You now have this next new point of reference. It cleared. Remember when it cleared this downtrend? It's been holding above it, showing some commitment to it. So if you've been just rolling up your shorts because of whomever you follow or because you have a short thesis, you better have a plan. If you've been looking at technicals, ever since this low here, it's been stair-stepping higher and it's been pretty good. As far as oil, today oil was up, and basically you had an outside type move or an outside day type move. I came along the OAHs and up 70 cents, sold some, trailed some. When it went negative, I was done with it, and that's what you got to do with laggard sectors. You have to be careful. You have to have perfect pricing or at least good timing and look for signals. You look at the USO, it basically opened higher and reversed. Okay, so once you trade above a certain level and come back below it, you get a little cautionary flag, and that was 30.13, and now it actually closed pretty much on the lows of the day, engulfing these 3 days. So at this point, it's not really derailing the market. As the S&P's at new highs. Remember how everyone said when oil breaks 80, it's going to be Armageddon. Well, not quite Armageddon today with oil right here, so I guess we'll see how the USOs deal with the prior low. And for oil, that number is like 75, I think 90. So here is 28.89. I guess if we were to break this, to continue down, I got to believe some pressure comes into the tape, but we'll be able to measure that then. As far as the OAHs and XLE, if you had them long overnight, they were strong Friday. They gave you that gap up. And what do? My rule is when I'm long like 8 positions, 9 positions, 5 positions, whatever it is, I usually sell a third into the gap up, sometimes before I come in here for the morning call at 7:30, because I get paid for holding the risk. Same way even if I have a short, I cover a portion of it. And then, I cover a little bit more towards the open, okay, and then I hold a certain level and see whether or not the momentum continues or if there's no memory to the prior day. And then if it happens to go negative, I get out. Sometimes it puts in a pivot low and then you can get back in and the trend continues, or sometimes it doesn't. So if you look at the XLEs, just to show you, there's been a lot of trades in here. But what did this do for now? Okay, it opened up, traded back below this prior level, closed on lows. So that was a sell signal. And look where it came from. It came from 84. This was day 4 into the up. So if you were looking for a sell signal, you got it. Still below the 200-day, still a weak sector. So does it not mean that maybe it puts in another higher low here and continues this trend? We shall see. But for today, that was a sell signal. For the OAHs, same thing. I kind of got lucky because it was up nice, and I did sell some. And I tweeted about it in the first 15 minutes, and then once it went back below the prior high, which was right here, that was another sell signal at 45.48, and then when it went red. So now, who knows? It's still well below other moving averages and still a laggard sector. It's been broken for a while, but there was a nice trade there. 1, 2, day 3 into an up move. Could it have broken above 46, held above it, and then perhaps went to here? Yes, but did oil reverse, and was this a weaker sector all day long? So you listen to the market. As far as the metals, remember last week we were talking about, the dollar was strong and gold stopped going down, the GDX was up, you get some kind of oversold trade, and then some guys were like saying, this is it, gold's back on, woohoo! Go get the bugs, they could dance. But, sometimes you don't know if it's an oversold bounce or if there's something more to it, and the way you do that is measuring commitment. So for me, didn't have any gold overnight, and I said to everyone, I'm like, guys, if you're in the GLDs, it's got to hold about 112, maybe even 111.51 to show some commitment to Friday's action. One day does not make a new trend, and this is friggin' disastrous for some people. And just the way gold's been trading, there's been no follow through. It's been erratic and it's been weaker. And why I guess should it change? If you traded it for a cute long, same way you could find the cute short here and there, you had it. And then this was one. If you go to watch the morning call or the no, we talked about 112. If you go to the 5-minute chart, you really could have used 111.51. That was really more of the, like, you look at, this was the move. Okay, here was your gap down. And then what you had to do if you were measuring it is you had one level, which was right here. You had your gap down, traded off it. You could have said, okay, look at the size of this move from the prior session, so let me give it some room. So it bounced off it. So this could have been one stop, which is actually this 111.65. If you didn't just use 112 like I mentioned, which was right there, you could have said, I'm going to wait to the 30-minute low and then get out there. If you got out there, great. And if you said, you know what, I'm going to give it to the 60-minute low or more, and it bounced off, then it could have been here versus sitting through it the entire time. Now this daily chart looks, pretty gross again, and this chart's been gross pretty much all year. And anytime it looks good, it hasn't given you any follow through, so why trust it? So anyway, this was that pennant that broke to the downside. Here is when it broke below this, and all it did is fill one gap. What did the GDX do today? Also trap, open lower and then engulf that day, and just looks ugly still. But what are you going to do? You gotta trade where you live where you trade, and this is a spot we've been trying to avoid. I've been just trying to help some people because there's some guys out there with a thesis that just say you could sit through, it's going to work out for you, but that blows up traders. I actually tried to be long the TLTs, right? TLTs consolidated, spiked up to 127, here around 119, nice descending channel, looked strong on Friday, bought some, said, okay, let me try and be involved with this because decent chart last time it worked, and then I got stopped out today. What are you going to do? This is the chart of the TLTs last time after this little island top. Remember when this trend broke? Talked about getting long here. And this down there, I didn't do it. I just guided everyone. I'm like, okay, I think you could be long above 114. And then it followed the 8-day all the way until this capitulation top here, 127. So fast forward to this, this could have been just a little bit of a pullback. Think about from 113 all the way to 127, nice little consolidation, and a strong day, perhaps a good swing trade, especially if it got above here, and then all of a sudden that happened. So we closed below Friday's low. I don't sit in there. Some people might stay until here, which is fine, 118.21. That's your thesis. But for me, there was no follow-through, no commitment to Friday. I don't have any kind of opinion on what I think about bonds and treasuries. All I know is that I saw an interesting stat that this year is going to go down. It's on track for the best non-farm payroll creation since 1999. And in 1999, I think the GDP was like close to 5%, and Fed funds rate was 5.5, and everyone knows where we are now. So people still don't believe the data, I guess. They think the jobs numbers are all cooked, and at some point, if the numbers stay consistent, rates might actually start to go up, and then these TLTs can get a bit crushed, and it's not a safe haven. Everyone said gold was a safe haven this year, and technically it broke down at every level. So just be a bit careful if you're going to just have a blaring thesis, especially if you're a trader that trades 1 to 3 week trends, or even 1 to 3 day moves, depending on the action. So anyway, if you look at the TLTs one more time, you know, I guess this should be your line in the sand right there. You know, if you didn't get out today and you got in with me, you know, you probably got stopped out. But maybe it just needs time in here. I don't know. For me, it's not worth it. I had a little frustrating day. You know, then BABA, which I was battling the street on around 90, saying I think it can go to 120 in 6 months or 3 to 6 months. I didn't think it would be 6 weeks. Technically, it's giving you lots of opportunities to approach it with a plan versus everyone bashing it on valuation or on hype or on moja. I don't even know what people call it. But anyway, this was when it broke this downtrend. Here's when it traded above this 90, and since then hugged the 8-day, went above this IPO high here, and now look at it. It was, if you counted how many times he said the name Alibaba on TV today, you know, you could have had a drinking contest and been passed out. But anyway, if you did not buy BABA here, or even here, you know, you got to think about it. Or think about your process if you bought it on the close today because of the news that should be coming out tomorrow about the holiday. So we shall see. Ultimately, great move. You know, if you remember, I tried showing you guys the chart of Twitter, okay, where remember way back when everyone hated it here, okay, and it turned into the biggest pain trade. You know, this was back then, and I was like, okay, you had the IPO high, which was right here. And then, you know, you had the downtrend, which is right there, and then it almost doubled before, you know, whatever happened thereafter. And when it happens thereafter, that's fine too. Things change. Just rode the 8-day the entire time until it peaked. And then right here, when it broke this wedge, it got a little wishy-washy, and then you had this big gap down there, and that's never got filled. So that's what created, you know, a little less pent-up momentum in Twitter. And now, actually, since we're on it, you know, lately I haven't been trading it because, you know, it broke trend here. Okay, broke the 8-21 day, and then had this gap down after earnings, never filled it, so it's weaker. And some people are probably even short overnight because it closed in the lows in a strong tape and it could fill that gap. Facebook, also a little wishy-washy. I have no position here. All I'm watching is, you know, you had the gap down, hasn't been filled. You have a small ascending channel here. If it were to break below the 73.70, I think some people who are, you know, hoping for a year-end move might have to sell, or some shorts come in there and you have a move to here. At this point, it's hard to tell. You know, we don't take stock into earnings anyway, so no one got caught in this. So we're all trying to figure out whether we could put together a swing long for another move. You know, we've been in this, you know, so many different times throughout the course of its life, starting back from here when, you know, we saw the cup and handle pattern, and, you know, it was on with Kramer talking about how it could at least get back to the old highs here. And then you had the gap up, and since then, it's been an unbelievable trender. And you know, you can almost draw this trend to there. So it's still above that trend, and it's still, you know, there's room to here, and then you have this little flag where it's showing relative weakness. So if you just look at relative weakness versus the market, there's a little relative weakness in Facebook, so be a bit careful. Some spots where there are relative strength, you have Baidu, made a new high today. If you were in it, I think guys on the VTF had some nice success when it cleared this and then closed on the highs. This was another nice little viable strategy right there. Then you have, let's see what other Chinese names are doing. You have this BITA. I guess it's worth being on the radar. You know, nice little sideways flag commitment to this. It is a little thin, and you have to take care, but maybe above 85 if you know, this group stays hot into year end. That's something. Also YY, sloppy, but turned up today. This Dang also. I remember this name from back in the day. It does move at times. Had a sort of a clean day here. So, you know, maybe this is a value, I don't know, this value play above this, 1344. We'll see, value play. But, or just a momentum play, whatever you want to call it. You know, people, it looks like they need Chinese names, especially when Bob is doing what it's doing. Then you have some of the old school high beta names, you know, that have been broken but are waking up. So you're like, okay, can I commit money to this? Will it have a 6-week catch-up move or not. Google is one of them. Still below the 200-day. It's still sort of weak, but it did, I guess you could say, put in a higher low versus here. So doesn't get me excited, but at this point, perhaps it could move still. I'm going to avoid, but people are asking me what I think about Google, and at this point, it's just building and repairing, and you have this big, support that it actually held, and you have your upper resistance right there, and right now it's in a little bit of no man's land below moving averages, so let's give it some time. Some guys are asking me what to do with Amazon also. See, Amazon I think is like a little different because you have the holiday season, and I remember last year every day I got a little brown box from my wife. I don't think ever went to the store, but it's broken. But you have a low from earnings, a higher low. It actually almost filled the gap from earnings, so it's showing you some appetite down here. Perhaps it clears this downtrend and at least makes a move back into the moving averages come year end because people kind of used to buying Amazon into that. So at this point, it's been battered and bruised, and you look at it on a macro sense, it's not really an investor or investment right here. It's just a trade. It's been trending lower, and at some point, maybe all their cylinders that they've been putting in place, as far as all their they've been adding all the call centers and all the new stuff, whatever, but their margins weren't there. But at some point, maybe it ramps and it gets back going from 400 to here. It could be worth a trade, especially if you're not caught in it. Netflix also trying to prove itself that it could be a trade here. Some guys were talking about it. Net neutrality was all over TV. If you're long it, be long versus support. The support here is around 376. At some point, maybe it clears this, and then you have more of a gap there. But these things are also vulnerable below all the moving averages. But for a trade, could be on the radar, and Tesla will be on my radar too. As it's definitely not the same as it has been. It changed when it broke below this pennant right there. And when it broke this downtrend, or uptrend, I'm sorry, and then couldn't reclaim it, and now you have this gap here, and earnings are out of the way, and it still never got crushed. It's below the 200-day. At some point, if it were to get above this with real big volume, it could interest me because you also have a lot of guys short versus here. So whenever you get close to some kind of inflection point, you at least watch it. You have this high, lower high, and then you have sideways action and a gap. So above this on big time volume could wake it up for some type of tactical trade if you're not caught in it, which none of us I think are. G Pro, what'd you do today? It announced that shelf, and I guess it could have been worse, but it's still not acting great. The earnings came out and it tried to put in a new move over here, and then this wound up taking some of that out of the or like letting some air out of the balloon, so to speak, and then it didn't reclaim that. And I don't know. I would write down 75. I wouldn't be long this thing overnight. I would wait. This was clean back here. Everyone. When it trends in it's early, it's clean because shorts are involved, and everyone's they have pie in the sky and where it can go. This one followed the 8-day all the way up, and then I remember writing about when it broke the 8-day right there. That's when it changed, and now it's in kind of repair mode, going sideways and taking its time. And it's only been public since July, but this was when it cleared this channel, got above the IPO high, and then it becomes sky. This is the limit, and then it rested. Gave you another nice flag pattern before everyone in the street started to short it, and then everyone started to bash it, and now still hanging in there. If you're in it from this or you're in it from here, you're in healthy profits. If you're trying to trade it now, it's a little wishy-washy. Same thing with Mobileye, but Mobileye's got numbers coming up soon. Again, clean trade in the first 4 weeks, right there or right here, before the peak. Okay, and then I remember this outside day right there kind of got me away from it, especially when it broke to 21-day. And now it's kind of noisy, and guys are, I think, over trading it. Numbers will be out, I think, at some point this week. I got to look that up for you guys. But the momentum pivot is here, and until it gets above there after earnings with some authority, I just think go to 3 to 5 minute charts or just avoid it. The banks look pretty good still. You have Goldman Sachs flagging at highs. That looks like it could be on its way to 195 plus. Morgan, I'm still long. It's been working its way back to the prior high. Thank goodness for that. Bank of America, very sleepy, but still hovering right here. Ooh, look at that. At some point, perhaps we could get a nice little trade through here with some size. But for right now, it's been good just to have a small size so you can not worry about it. The last little pivot was right there. So lots to do. You kind of have to have the right idea beforehand heading into the day because some of these moves happen quick. So, you know, it pays to do your homework. It pays to be in early to get prepared to see where the money's going. You know, that 2.3% Shanghai move could have given you some clues that, you know, we could have a China day on top of BABA's strength. So that could have helped you be in BABA or some of the other ones earlier. Banks still fine. Metals, good luck. They're yours. Trade them. Same thing with the TLTs. Good luck. They're yours. Oil reversed today, but that's been a weaker sector. Oil came into 76 after breaking 80 today. It retested the 80 and turned lower. So, you know, pretty much a technical playbook. Same thing, you know, with the reversal in, I guess, the OAHs and XLEs. Had a nice 3-day move. Fourth day, you look for a reversal. It happened. So if you re-entered your short there, fine. I didn't. I just sold my OAHs, and now it's back to the C- list from, you know, the B list. And there you go. Monday. Hope you know your month is working out well, and you're not fighting the short in the S&Ps, or fighting the short in BABA, or fighting the tape, or trying to, you know, find the bottom in places that haven't happened yet for more than a half a day, and making progress. There is definitely things to do out there. Just don't do too much, and you know, just stay planned and keep your levels in front of you. They've been helpful. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.